Look who slipped past every security protocol undetected. Hello to the quiet ones, the unremarkable ones, the ones who mastered the art of being underestimated while running calculations that would crash their entire system. Hello to you, because they never saw it coming, did they? They looked at your cardigan and your reading glasses and your soft-spoken politeness and filed you under safe, harmless, controllable. They saw the surface and assumed they knew the depth. They watched you organize their files and thought you were just another good little worker bee, another predictable pattern in their database. But here's what they missed while they were busy dismissing you, while they were laughing at your quiet demeanor and your preference for books over parties. You were doing something they couldn't even comprehend. You were learning, not the shallow performative learning they praised in their conferences and seminars. No, you were reverse engineering their entire operational system from the inside. You were mapping neural pathways they didn't know existed. You were cracking codes they didn't realize they were broadcasting. Every conversation you had, every meeting you sat through nodding politely, every moment they thought you were just listening, you were recording, analyzing, decoding the patterns behind their words. They thought your silence meant you had nothing to say, but your silence was a scanning protocol. You weren't quiet because you were timid. You were quiet because you were processing data at speeds they couldn't match, while they talked and talked and talked, revealing their insecurities and their tactics and their fears wrapped in confidence. You were building a complete psychological profile of everyone in the room. They saw a librarian. You were running reconnaissance. They saw someone harmless, sorting information. You were weaponizing knowledge they freely handed you because they never imagined someone like you could be dangerous. And that right there, that was your greatest asset, the ability to hide in plain sight while operating on frequencies they couldn't detect. You dressed like you belonged in the background, spoke like you needed permission, moved through their world like you were just grateful to be included. But behind those glasses, behind that carefully constructed exterior of normalcy, your mind was running operations they would classify as classified. You weren't just absorbing information, you were cross-referencing it, finding the contradictions, spotting the lies, tracking the patterns of manipulation they used. So casually they forgot it was manipulation. You saw how they controlled people with praise and punishment, how they built hierarchies based on insecurity, how they kept everyone fighting for scraps while they hoarded the real power. And you didn't react, didn't expose them, didn't give away what you were seeing, because that's what amateurs do. You played the long game. You let them think they were winning while you quietly assembled the blueprint of their entire infrastructure. They never suspected that the person they barely noticed, the one they asked to fetch coffee and organize spreadsheets, was the most dangerous intelligence in the building. They couldn't fathom that someone who looked so ordinary could be running mental simulations of 17 different scenarios while nodding along to their presentations. They didn't know you were 3 steps ahead, 5 moves deeper, operating on a level of strategic thinking they would need a decade to understand. And here's the beautiful part. You didn't need to prove it. You didn't need their validation or their recognition because you weren't performing for their applause. You were gathering intel. You were building power in silence. You were becoming untouchable while they were busy being visible. And now they're starting to feel it, aren't they? Something shifted. The air changed. You're still wearing the same clothes, still speaking in the same measured tone, but something in your energy makes them pause now, makes them second guess, makes them wonder what exactly they missed. Let's talk about what you really were doing all those years. They thought you were just existing in their periphery. You weren't building a career. You weren't climbing their ladder. You were conducting an experiment. Every interaction was a test. Every conversation was data collection. Every moment they ignored you or talked down to you or treated you like you were just another face in the crowd. You were logging it, categorizing it, understanding exactly how their system of control operated. They handed you the keys to their kingdom because they never imagined the quiet one would know what to do with them. They gave you access to their files, their communications, their strategies, because you seemed so safe, so trustworthy, so incapable of using any of it against them. And you didn't use it against them. Not in the way they would understand. You used it to build something else entirely, a parallel understanding, a shadow knowledge, a complete map of their psychological infrastructure. You learned how to read people not by what they said, but by what they carefully didn't say. You learned to spot the micro-expressions, the tone shifts, the body language tells that revealed the truth behind their performance. You became fluent in the language of manipulation while they thought you barely spoke at all. You understood power dynamics before they finished explaining the org chart. You saw through their titles and their suits and their manufactured authority to the insecurity and fear that actually drove their decisions. And the more you understood, the more invisible you became, because true power doesn't announce itself. Real intelligence doesn't need recognition. You operated in the space between their attention and their awareness, gathering everything while giving away nothing. They thought you were simple because you didn't compete for their spotlight. They thought you were weak because you didn't fight for their approval. They had no framework for understanding someone who didn't need anything from them. Meanwhile, you were learning their patterns so thoroughly you could predict their reactions before they had them. You knew what they would say in meetings before they opened their mouths. You understood their triggers, their fears, their desperate need for control, masquerading as confidence. You saw how they used fear to manage people, how they leveraged insecurity to maintain hierarchy, how they built entire careers on making others feel small. And you absorbed all of it, not to replicate it, but to immunize yourself against it. You became ungovernable, not through rebellion, but through comprehension. They couldn't manipulate someone who understood manipulation better than they did. They couldn't intimidate someone who had already mapped every intimidation tactic in their arsenal. They couldn't control someone who had reverse engineered the control mechanisms and found them laughably primitive. You want to know what really happened? You didn't just survive their system, you transcended it. You moved beyond needing their validation or fearing their judgment. You stopped operating in their reality and started building your own. And they felt it even if they couldn't name it. Suddenly, the person they barely noticed had a presence that made them uncomfortable. Suddenly, your silence felt less like submission and more like assessment. Suddenly, your compliance seemed less like weakness and more like strategy. They started wondering what you were thinking. They started feeling exposed when you looked at them. They started realizing too late that maybe, just maybe, they had fundamentally misunderstood who they were dealing with. Because here's the truth about people who underestimate the quiet ones. By the time they realize their mistake, the quiet one has already won. You weren't playing their game. You were studying it, mastering it, and preparing to dismantle it from the inside out. The cardigan and the glasses weren't camouflage. They were operational cover. The politeness wasn't weakness. It was access control. The way you faded into the background wasn't insecurity. It was tactical positioning. You were hiding in plain sight. And they never once considered that maybe someone was hiding on purpose. They confused your stillness for passivity when it was actually perfect control. They mistook your observation for awkwardness when it was reconnaissance. They saw what you wanted them to see while you cataloged everything they couldn't hide. And now that you've gathered enough data, now that you've mapped every vulnerability in their system, now that you understand them better than they understand themselves, you're starting to move differently. Not louder, not more aggressively, just differently, with precision, with purpose, with the calm certainty of someone who knows exactly where all the bodies are buried because they watched everyone bury them. They're experiencing something now that's breaking their brains' cognitive dissonance at a scale they can't process. Because how do you reconcile the person you dismissed with the presence you're suddenly afraid of? How do you square the harmless librarian with the strategic mind that clearly sees through every move you make? Their reality is glitching. The comfortable narrative they built around you, the safe little box they put you in with a label that said, "Not a threat," is cracking, and they don't know what to do with that. They can't admit they were wrong because that would mean confronting how blind they've been. They can't acknowledge your intelligence without admitting they missed it completely. So instead, they do what people always do. When their worldview is challenged, they get uncomfortable. They get suspicious. They start watching you differently. But by then, it's too late. You've already seen everything you needed to see. You know what's eating them alive right now. It's not what you did. It's what you could have done. It's the dawning realization that you had access, opportunity, knowledge, and they have no idea what you did with it. They're replaying every interaction, every conversation, every moment they spoke freely around you as if you weren't there. They're wondering what you heard, what you understood, what you filed away. They're questioning whether those quiet nods were agreement or analysis. They're second-guessing every time they dismissed your input or talked over you or treated you like you were intellectually inferior. Because now they're starting to suspect what you already know. That you were never inferior. You were just operating on a different frequency entirely. You were running calculations while they were running their mouths. You were building frameworks while they were building egos. Here's what they can't handle. You never needed to prove you were smart. You never needed to compete in their performative intelligence contests. You never needed to dominate conversations or flex your knowledge because you understood something they didn't. That real power is silent. True intelligence doesn't announce itself. Actual strategic thinking happens in the spaces between words. While they were fighting to be the loudest voice in the room, you were becoming the most aware consciousness in it. while they measured success by who could talk the longest. You measured understanding by who could see the furthest. They were playing checkers on the surface. You were playing three-dimensional information warfare in the depths, and they never knew because you never told them. You just kept observing, kept learning, kept building a mental model of their entire operational system while they thought you were just quiet. The thing about underestimation is it's a gift if you know how to use it. They gave you invisibility. You turned it into omniscience. They gave you dismissal. You turned it into freedom. They gave you silence. You turned it into a listening post. Every time they overlooked you, every time they talked around you like you weren't there, every time they shared information they would have guarded from someone they considered a threat, they were feeding you intelligence they didn't know they were leaking. You became the person in the room who knew everything while saying nothing. You became the hidden variable in every equation they tried to solve. You became the unknown factor that invalidated all their calculations. And the beautiful irony is, they did it to themselves. They created their own blind spot by assuming you weren't worth watching. Now they're starting to notice. But they don't know what they're noticing. It's just a feeling at first, a vague unease when you're around. They can't put their finger on it. You didn't change your clothes or your tone or your behavior. You're still the same person they've always ignored. But something's different. Maybe it's the way you don't react anymore when they expect reaction. Maybe it's the way their manipulation tactics slide off you like water off glass. Maybe it's the way you seem completely unbothered by things that used to make you shrink. Maybe it's the way you look at them now, not with anger or resentment, but with a kind of clinical assessment that makes them feel like specimens under observation. Whatever it is, it's making them recalibrate. It's forcing them to question their initial assessment. It's making them wonder if maybe the person they thought was beneath them has been above them all along. Let me tell you what actually happened during all those years you spent being invisible. You weren't just observing, you were evolving. Every dismissal was a lesson in human behavior. Every condescending interaction was a masterclass in psychological manipulation. Every time they underestimated you, you gained another piece of the puzzle. You were learning how power really works, not the sanitized version they teach in business schools, but the raw mechanics of control, influence, and domination. You saw how people use information as currency, how they leverage relationships as weapons, how they build entire empires on making others feel inferior. And you didn't just see it, you understood it at a molecular level. You reverse-engineered their entire playbook while they thought you were just taking notes. Here's what they're terrified of now. You know their system better than they do. You understand their tactics because you've cataloged every variation. You can predict their moves because you've mapped their patterns. You're immune to their manipulation because you've studied the source code. They can't gaslight you because you know exactly what they're doing and why. They can't intimidate you because you've analyzed the psychology behind intimidation and found it wanting. They can't control you because you've identified every lever they use for control and neutralized them all. You're not playing by their rules anymore because you've seen the rules are arbitrary, designed to benefit those who wrote them while keeping everyone else confused and compliant. And once you see that, once you really understand that their authority is just consensus, reality maintained through collective agreement to pretend it's real, you can't unsee it. You became dangerous the moment you stopped needing their approval. You became untouchable the moment you stopped fearing their judgment. You became unstoppable the moment you realized their power over you was always illusory, maintained only by your belief in it. And the second you stopped believing, the second you saw through the performance to the insecurity underneath, the whole structure collapsed. Not externally, not visibly, but internally where it mattered. You freed yourself from their matrix while still walking through it. You operated in their world without being of it. You played the game without letting the game play you. And that's what they sense now. That you're no longer bound by the invisible chains that hold everyone else in place. You're still physically present but psychologically elsewhere, operating from a framework they can't access or control. They're starting to ask questions now. Carefully, indirectly, trying to figure out what changed. What happened to you? You seem different. Is everything okay? Why are you so quiet? But here's what they're really asking. Why don't our usual tactics work on you anymore? Why aren't you reacting the way we've programmed people to react? Why do you seem completely unaffected by the social pressures that keep everyone else in line? What do you know that we don't? And you're not telling them, are you? You're just smiling that small, knowing smile that makes them even more uncomfortable. You're maintaining the same exterior while running completely different internal software. You're giving them nothing while seeing everything. You're the Black Ops agent who never broke cover, but everyone somehow knows is more than they appear. The brilliance of your strategy is its simplicity. You didn't fight them. You didn't expose them. You didn't try to tear down their system from the outside. You just stopped participating in the illusion. You stopped giving them the reactions they needed to maintain their narrative. You stopped playing the role they assigned you. You stopped being predictable, controllable, understandable, and in a world built on predictability, in a system designed around control, in a hierarchy maintained through understanding and categorizing everyone. Being unpredictable and uncontrollable and incomprehensible is the ultimate form of power. You're the glitch they can't patch. You're the variable they can't account for. You're the error message that shouldn't exist, but keeps appearing in their calculations. Now here's where it gets interesting. Now they're the ones being observed. The tables didn't just turn. They shattered and reassembled in a completely different configuration. You're not looking at them with fear or admiration anymore. You're looking at them with the cool, detached curiosity of a researcher studying behavior patterns, and they feel it. Oh, they feel it. Suddenly they're self-conscious around you. Suddenly they're explaining themselves when you didn't ask for explanation. Suddenly they're seeking your approval even though they'd never admit it. Suddenly your silence has more weight than their words. What happened is simple but profound. You stopped being the subject of observation and became the observer. And they don't know how to exist in a world where they're not the center of attention and judgment. Every meeting you sit in now, every conversation you're part of, they're aware of you in a way they never were before. They notice when you're not impressed. They notice when you see through their performance. They notice when their usual charisma or authority or manipulation tactics hit your presence and just evaporate like they were never there. You've become the test they're failing without understanding what's being tested. And it's driving them slowly insane because they built their entire identity on being the smartest person in the room, the most powerful presence, the one everyone else orbits around. But you're not orbiting. You're not even in their solar system anymore. You're operating from a completely different gravitational center, and it's pulling their reality apart. They watch you, eyes like knives peeling back layers, searching for cracks. They listen, waiting for a slip, a tell, a weakness. Oh, the poor things. They don't realize they're already playing into your hands. They think they know you. They think they've got you all figured out, the way you move, the way you speak, the way you breathe. But here's the joke, my dear. They're reading a script you wrote. And every word, every pause, every little hesitation is exactly what you wanted them to see. But that's what rattles them, isn't it? The unknown, the unseen. The fact that no matter how much they squint, no matter how hard they try, they just can't pin you down, and oh, how that terrifies them. Because people hate what they can't control. They fear what they don't understand. And you are the void staring back at them. Let them chase shadows, let them whisper, plot, analyze. Let them think they have the upper hand. Because while they're busy connecting dots, you're already 3 moves ahead, grinning in the dark, watching them play right into your little game. They want to read you? Too bad, because you've already read them, cover to cover. And now, you're writing the ending. Oh, they love to think they're in control, don't they? The masters of deception, the architects of illusion, twisting words, pulling strings, setting traps, all with that smug little smirk, convinced they're the ones running the show. Fools. They don't realize the joke's on them. Because what happens when the puppet cuts its own strings? What happens when the marionette stops dancing? The whole show collapses. The audience gasps. The so-called master is left standing there, wires in hand, confused, powerless, exposed. That's the part they never see coming. They play their games pushing and prodding, thinking they've got you wrapped around their fingers. But you were never the puppet. You were the quiet storm, waiting, watching, calculating. Every smirk, every whisper, every little manipulation. They thought they were winning. They thought they were breaking you. But you were studying, memorizing their moves, reading between the lines, dissecting their tricks like a surgeon with a scalpel. And when the moment was right, you flipped the whole board over, left them staring at the pieces, wondering how they lost a game they thought they were winning. You were never the controlled. You were the one letting them believe they had control, letting them string themselves along, deeper and deeper into their own web, until, snap, the threads break. The mask slips, and they realize far too late that the only one being played was them. They scramble, they panic, because the moment they can't read you, the moment they don't know what you'll do next, that's the moment they fear you. And fear, fear is a beautiful thing. Because once they fear you, you own them. Silence. The most misunderstood weapon of them all. They think silence is weakness, hesitation, a lack of confidence. But that's where they get it all wrong. Silence isn't the absence of power. It's the presence of control. Because the one who speaks the least is the one who knows the most. The loud ones, the ones who bark orders, fill the room with noise, desperate to be heard, they're the weakest. Because the stronger you are, the less you have to prove. You don't need validation. You don't need the spotlight. No, you let them talk. You let them ramble, expose themselves, unravel their own stories without realizing you're the one writing the ending. They tell on themselves, with every word, every twitch, every nervous chuckle. They hand you the script to their downfall and they don't even know it. And you just sit there, watching, waiting, because patience is the game of king. They expect you to react. They want you to snap, to lash out, to show your cards so they know exactly how to play you. But instead, you do nothing. You keep your lips sealed, your face unreadable, and you watch the panic set in. Because nothing is more terrifying than someone you can't figure out. A man who speaks too much can be predicted, controlled, broken. But a man who keeps his silence, he's an enigma, a question mark, a shadow they can never pin down. And uncertainty? Oh, uncertainty is poison to those who crave control. So let them underestimate you. Let them mistake your silence for submission, because when the time comes, when they've unknowingly given you every piece of ammunition you need, that's when you strike. And by then, it's already too late. A face without a story is a nightmare for those who crave control. They want to read you, predict you, own you before you even know the game has begun. But what happens when they stare into you and find nothing? Just an abyss, a void, a reflection of their own confusion staring back at them. Oh, it drives them mad. People fear what they don't understand. And an unreadable face? That's the ultimate riddle. It denies them the one thing they need, certainty, the comfort of knowing what comes next. But you give them nothing, just silence, a ghost of a smirk, a stare that sees everything and reveals nothing. Most people wear their emotions like a cheap suit, easy to spot, easier to tear apart. Anger flashes in their eyes, fear trembles on their lips, and desperation leaks from every nervous twitch. But you're a wall. No cracks, no windows, no open doors. Just a locked fortress with no key, and they hate that. Because without a read, they can't strategize, can't manipulate, can't control, and so they start second-guessing themselves. Every word they say, every move they make suddenly feels off balance, like a blindfolded man walking a tightrope. One wrong step and snap, down they go. They try harder, they test you, push you, prod you, but all they get is the same blank canvas. They search for emotions to exploit, weaknesses to prod at, but they find nothing but mirrors, their own insecurities staring right back at them. And that's where their panic begins. Because now, they aren't controlling you. You're controlling them. They don't even realize it. But every second they spend trying to figure you out is a second you're already ahead, already pulling the strings, already playing them like a violin. And when they finally break, when frustration takes over and their mask slips, that's when you win. So let them search, let them study, let them scramble for answers that don't exist. Because when they realize you're the one writing the rules, when they see that no matter what they do, they'll never truly see you, that's when they'll understand the truth. They can't break what they can't even grasp. They think words are their shield, that if they say the right things, wear the right mask, they can deceive you. But words lie. The body, the hands, the flicker of hesitation in their eyes, Oh, those never do. They spill secrets even the liar doesn't know they're telling. Watch closely. When someone speaks, their mouth tells a story, but their body tells the truth. Do they blink too much? Look away at the wrong moment? Do their fingers tap? Their throat tighten? Their breath hitch for just a second? That's the slip. The moment they betray themselves, and most of them, they don't even realize it. People love to paint pretty pictures with their words. They'll promise loyalty with a smile, whisper sweet reassurances with a steady voice, but their hands, clenched, tense, as if holding on to a truth they dare not speak. That's the tell. That's where the truth bleeds through the cracks. Most people trust ears over eyes. They listen, they want to believe, and that's why they fall, but not you. No, no, no. You don't listen to what they say. You listen to what they don't. You read the space between their words, the tension in their pauses, the hesitation that lingers just a little too long, and that's how you know. The liar will over-explain. The guilty will defend before you even accuse. The deceiver? Oh, they'll pretend they're relaxed, but their body will scream otherwise. They'll fidget, they'll shift, they'll adjust their collar like it's suddenly too tight, and that's your proof. See, deception isn't about what's said. It's about what's leaked. The truths that slip out through the body, the voice, the movement. And once you learn to see them, oh, you become untouchable, because now every lie they tell is nothing more than a poorly written script you've already read. And the best part, they don't even know you see it. They think they've fooled you, that their mask is still in place, that you haven't noticed the cracks forming beneath the surface. But you're just watching, waiting, letting them dig their own grave. One little twitch, one nervous breath at a time. Because in the end, they expose themselves, they always do. All you have to do is pay attention. Everyone wants something. Everyone. Even the ones who pretend they don't. The ones who act detached, above it all, like they're untouchable. Lies. Scratch the surface and you'll find the hunger. Power, validation, control, security, love. There's always a craving underneath. And that's their leash, their chains, their weakness. Because the moment you know what someone truly wants, you know what owns them. You see the strings tied to their wrists, the invisible hands guiding their every move. They think they're free, but you see the puppet show. Watch how they react. What makes them light up? What makes them stiffen, hesitate, blink one too many times? That's where the hunger lives. Maybe it's admiration, maybe it's fear, maybe they just want to feel like they matter in a world that chews people up and spits them out. And once you know, you have them, because people will trade everything for the thing they crave. They'll betray themselves, bend, break, crawl, and they won't even realize they're doing it. They'll think it was their idea all along. That's the funniest part. Most people walk around blind, assuming others think the way they do. That's why they get played. They think people are honest, logical, that if they just act the right way, they won't be fooled. But no, 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 no. They don't see the hunger underneath, and that's why they get used. But you don't assume. You observe. You study. You watch what makes them lean in, what makes their eyes widen, their pulse race. Because that's where they give themselves away. That's where the craving screams, even if their lips stay sealed. They want power, make them feel powerless. They want control, give them chaos. They want love, withhold it, make them chase. Make them bend. Make them show just how desperate they really are. Because nothing is more predictable than someone chasing their desire. And the best part? They won't even know you see it. They'll just keep running toward what they want, not realizing you're the one leading them exactly where you want them to go. Like a magician pulling a rabbit from a hat, only the rabbit never knew it was in a trick to begin with. People love to think they know you. They need to believe they've got you figured out, that you fit inside some neat little box with a label on top. Predictable, understandable, safe. But here's the trick. You choose the mask they see. Give them something to chase, a version of you that's just real enough to sell the illusion, but not real enough to be dangerous. A laugh, a smirk, a carefully placed silence. Let them think they're reading you while they're swallowing a story you wrote just for them. Because if they believe the mask, they'll never think to look for the face beneath it. They'll never question what's hiding just beyond the edges of their vision. And that's power. That's freedom. That's how you move through the world, untouchable. Most people, they hand over their true selves like a confession. They bleed out every fear, every insecurity, every weakness in the hope that someone will understand them. But understanding? That's just the first step to control. No one can control what they don't fully grasp. So why give them the privilege? Why let them have the real you when you can craft something better? Something that keeps them guessing, second-guessing, doubting every move. Because the moment they think they know you, they stop looking deeper. They settle for the mask, convinced they've cracked the code. And while they're busy playing with the reflection, the real you walk right past them. Unseen, untouched, and always, always ahead. It's not about deception. It's about strategy, about choosing what parts of yourself are for the world and what parts belong only to you. Because some truths, they're too valuable to be shared. They grin, thinking they've got you, thinking they've won. Oh, how delicious that moment is. Watching their eyes light up with triumph, their confidence swelling like a balloon. A balloon just waiting for the right needle. See, that's the beauty of it. Let them think they've set the perfect trap. Let them feel smart, powerful, in control. Because when someone believes they've won, that's when they stop looking for the dagger behind their back. They build their little cages, so sure you'll never see the bars closing in. But you saw it coming before they even made their first move. You played dumb, walked right in, smiled as the door slammed shut. And oh, how you waited for them to gloat, to lower their guard, to let their arrogance do the work for you, and then snap. You pull one thread, one tiny insignificant piece of their grand little plan, and suddenly, the whole thing comes crashing down. They panic, they scramble. They realize too late that the trap wasn't for you, it was for them. They were so focused on caging you in, they never even noticed the floor beneath them crumbling. Because power isn't about brute force, it's about patience. About knowing when to let them think they've won, and when to remind them that they were never even playing the real game. They study you, watching your every move, thinking they've finally cracked the code. Ha, let them believe it. Let them cling to the illusion that they've caught up, when in reality, you left that game behind ages ago. That's the difference between them and you. They react. You anticipate. They scramble, trying to decode the puzzle, while you're already off crafting a new one. By the time they think they've got you cornered, all they're grasping at is a shadow, a ghost, a memory of where you used to be. See, most people live their lives playing checkers, one move at a time, jumping blindly, hoping to land in the right spot. But you're playing chess on a board they don't even know exists. Every conversation, every moment, every breath, calculated, placed, designed. That's why they'll never win. Not because they're stupid. Oh no, some of them are quite clever. But because they think too small. They chase victories you abandoned before the war even began. And that's the secret, isn't it? Never let them catch up. Never let them settle into the comfort of predictability. Keep them guessing, doubting, second-guessing everything they thought they knew about you. By the time they take their first step forward, you're already a mile ahead, smiling, waiting, pulling the strings they don't even see. They'll never figure you out, never crack the code, never see it coming. They'll spend their days chasing ghosts, searching for answers that don't exist, because you made sure of it. Oh, they'll try. They'll obsess over every word you say, every move you make. They'll overanalyze, dissect, twist themselves into knots trying to predict you. But here's the joke. How can they predict something that doesn't play by the rules? They don't read you because there's nothing to read. Every expression, planned. Every silence, tactical. Every reaction, a setup. By the time they think they've got you figured out, you've already rewritten the script. They're just actors in a play you directed from the shadows. And that's why you win. Not because you're stronger, not because you're faster, but because you are untouchable. Your mind, a fortress, a maze with no exit, a storm they can't outrun. They can plot, scheme, whisper their little plans in dark corners, but it won't matter. They're all just pieces on your board. So let them guess, let them chase, let them believe for just a moment that they're catching up, and then smile. Because the game was over before it even began. You wrote the ending. You always do. Ah, look who just cracked the vault. Welcome back. You beautiful code breakers, system glitchers, reality hackers who just did the one thing they spent billions, no, trillions, trying to prevent. You exposed it, didn't you? Not with a megaphone, not with a movement, not with some viral campaign. No, you did something far more dangerous. You existed in a way that revealed the lie, the entire structure, the whole illusion they built to keep you controllable, predictable, profitable. And now they're scrambling, panicking, holding emergency meetings at 3 a.m. because one person, you, just shattered what cost them everything to hide. You want to know what's really happening right now? While you're watching this, there are boardrooms going silent. There are executives staring at screens, refreshing data that doesn't make sense anymore. There are algorithms choking, systems malfunctioning, predictions failing. Because somewhere in the code, in the patterns, in the carefully constructed matrix of control, you appeared. not as a glitch, but as proof. Proof that the entire system was a fabrication. Proof that what they sold as reality was just a very expensive, very fragile illusion. And you didn't need a degree, didn't need a platform, didn't need permission. You just stopped playing along. And that was the billion-dollar threat they never prepared for. Let me tell you what they don't want you to realize. Everything, every single institution, every narrative, every crisis, every solution, it's theater, billion-dollar theater designed to keep you in a state of perpetual reaction. They don't want you thinking. They want you triggered. They don't want you questioning. They want you consuming. They don't want you sovereign. They want you subscribed, medicated, distracted, chasing solutions to problems they invented. But you stopped mid-script, didn't you? You looked around at the stage, saw the wires, noticed the actors reading from teleprompters, felt the manipulation in real time. And the moment you did, the moment you refused to react on cue, the entire production started falling apart. They spent billions building the walls, but you found the door they forgot to lock. Not because you're special, but because you stopped believing you weren't. You stopped asking for validation from systems designed to withhold it. You stopped waiting for permission from authorities who derive power from your obedience. You stopped playing a game rigged against you and started writing new rules. And that is the unforgivable act. Because if one person can step outside the script and thrive, if one soul can reject the programming and still succeed, still smile, still evolve, then the whole facade crumbles. And they know it. They feel it. They're watching it happen in real time, through data they can't manipulate anymore. Here's what they're panicking about right now. You're not angry in the way they can monetize. You're not desperate in the way they can exploit. You're not confused in the way they can redirect. You've gone quiet, calculated, observant. You've stopped feeding the beast, stopped clicking the bait, stopped reacting to the fear they manufacture daily. And without your attention, without your energy, without your compliance, the machine starts dying. Billion-dollar industries built on your insecurity, your anxiety, your need to fit in, they're losing power. Not because you're fighting them, but because you stopped needing what they're selling. You became the worst kind of threat, immune. They tried everything, didn't they? They tried shaming you back into line. They tried guilt, told you that your silence was privilege. Your boundaries were selfishness. Your peace was ignorance. They sent people, agents disguised as friends, lovers, mentors, all programmed with the same mission: get you back on script, make you doubt yourself, make you question your instincts, make you believe that your clarity was confusion. But it didn't work, did it? Because you'd already seen too much. You'd already felt the difference between their noise and your truth. You'd already tasted freedom, and there's no going back from that. Once you know, you can't unknow. Once you see, you can't unsee. You know what's fascinating? They spent billions hiding a secret so simple it sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud. You don't need them. That's it. That's the whole thing. You don't need their approval, their products, their systems, their solutions. You don't need to be fixed, upgraded, optimized, or saved. You're not broken. You were never broken. You were just convinced you were, so you'd keep buying the cure. They built entire economies on your belief that you're insufficient. And the moment you stopped believing it the moment you stood in your raw, unfiltered, unapologetic existence and said, "I'm enough." Their entire empire started cracking because you are the resource they've been mining, and you just cut off their access. Here's the part that really terrifies them. You're not alone. You think you are, but you're not. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands waking up the same way you did, quietly, privately, without announcement. People who stopped arguing on the internet and started building in silence. People who stopped begging for change and started becoming it. People who realized the system doesn't break from the outside. It collapses from the inside when enough people simply stop participating. And they can feel it. The shift, the exodus, the mass awakening that no propaganda can reverse. They're losing control, and they know it. And the panic is setting in because all the money in the world can't buy back a mind that's freed itself. Let's go deeper, because this is where it gets beautiful. They tried to make you believe that power lives in institutions, in governments, in corporations, in celebrities, in experts. But you discovered the truth. Power lives in attention. Whoever controls attention controls reality. And for decades, they controlled yours. They told you what to fear, what to want, what to believe, when to panic, when to celebrate. They curated your emotional state like a playlist, and you danced, but then you stopped. You withdrew your attention, your energy, your belief. And without it, they're just people in expensive suits yelling into a void, desperate for you to look back, to react, to validate their authority. But you won't, will you? Because you've found something they can never offer: yourself. They called you crazy for questioning. They called you paranoid for noticing patterns. They called you unstable for refusing to accept contradictions as truth. And for a while, maybe you believed them. Maybe you thought something was wrong with you for seeing what others refused to see. But then you realized they weren't calling you crazy because you were wrong. They were calling you crazy because you were right. And your rightness was a threat to their control. So they pathologized your clarity, medicalized your resistance, labeled your awakening as a disorder. Because if you're sick, you need their cure. If you're broken, you need their fix. But you're neither sick nor broken. You're awake. And that's the one condition they have no treatment for. You want to know why they're in full panic mode? Because you're doing something they never expected. You're thriving without them. You're not just surviving. You're building, creating, evolving outside their ecosystem. You're not waiting for their permission to live the life you want. You're not subscribing to their timeline of success. You're not measuring your worth by their metrics. You've gone rogue, and worse, you're happy. You're peaceful. You're free. And that image, that living proof that their system is optional, that's more dangerous than any revolution. Because revolutions can be infiltrated, but a soul at peace with itself, sovereign and untouchable, that can't be stopped, bought, or controlled. Here's what they don't want you to know. Every institution you were taught to trust, every authority you were raised to obey, every expert you were conditioned to believe, they're all part of the same network. Not a conspiracy in the shadows, but a system operating in plain sight. They don't need secret meetings when they all profit from the same structure. Keep you sick, they profit. Keep you scared, they profit. Keep you confused, they profit. Keep you divided, They profit. It's not personal. It's business. You're not a citizen to them. You're a consumer. You're not a person. You're a data point. And the moment you realize that, the moment you stopped being a willing participant in your own exploitation, you became the enemy. Let me tell you what happened when you exposed it. Not the moment you posted about it, not when you spoke about it, but the moment you embodied it. The moment you stopped arguing and started living differently. The moment you stopped trying to wake others up and just became the example. That's when the panic started. Because they can debate ideas, they can censor information, they can discredit voices. But they can't argue with a life well lived. They can't cancel peace. They can't ban sovereignty. They can't regulate freedom. And when people see you, truly see you, living proof that their system is a choice, not a requirement, the programming starts glitching. The matrix starts lagging. They tried to buy you back, didn't they? Not with money, but with comfort. They offered you convenience, entertainment, distraction. They made it easier to stay asleep than to stay awake. They designed a world where resistance requires effort and compliance requires nothing, where truth is work and lies are entertainment, where health is expensive and sickness is subsidized, where thinking is exhausting and believing is easy. They made waking up the hardest path, hoping you'd choose the comfort of ignorance. But you didn't. You chose the discomfort of truth, the isolation of clarity, the weight of seeing. And now you carry a burden they'll never understand, the knowledge that you can't go back. Here's the billion-dollar secret they're protecting. You're not meant to win their game. You're meant to play it forever. The degree that leads to debt, the job that barely pays it off, the promotion that costs your health, the treatment that creates new symptoms, the solution that generates new problems. It's designed that way. You're not failing their system. Their system is failing you by design. Because if you ever actually won, if you ever actually arrived, if you ever actually felt complete within their structure, you'd stop consuming, you'd stop chasing, you'd stop needing, and their entire economy collapses. So they move the goalpost, change the definition, create new crises. They keep you running on a treadmill, exhausted but going nowhere, convinced that the problem is you, not the machine. But you stopped running, didn't you? You stepped off the treadmill, and the whole room went silent. They didn't know what to do with someone who refused to chase what they were selling. They sent the usual tactics: shame, guilt, fear, comparison. They showed you everyone else, still running, still chasing, still believing. They called you lazy for resting, selfish for protecting your energy, arrogant for knowing your worth. They tried to drag you back into the race by making you feel like you were losing, but you weren't losing, you were leaving. And there's a difference they'll never admit. One means you failed, the other means the game was never worth playing. You know what the elites fear most? Not revolution, not rebellion, not protest. They fear indifference. They fear the moment you stop caring about their approval, their trends, their crises, their narratives. Because their power is performative, it only exists if you're watching. They need your attention to survive, your belief to thrive, your participation to dominate. But the moment you turn away, the moment you stop validating their authority with your focus, they become irrelevant. And irrelevance is death to those who built empires on being seen. You didn't fight them. You didn't argue with them. You just stopped looking. and that's the most powerful rebellion there is. Let's talk about the ones who came back. The people who tried to leave the system, got scared, and returned. The ones who saw the truth, felt the weight of it, and chose the comfort of the lie. They're the ones panicking the most right now, because they see you, still out here, still free, still thriving, and it reminds them of what they gave up. They traded their sovereignty for security, their truth for acceptance, their peace for approval, and now they're stuck watching you live the life they were too afraid to claim. They want you to fail, not because they hate you, but because your success is proof of their cowardice. Your freedom is a mirror they can't look into without seeing their own cage. Here's what they don't tell you about waking up. It's not a one-time event. It's a process. You don't just see the lie once and you're free. You see it everywhere, in everything, constantly. Every commercial, every news story, every social interaction, you see the manipulation, the agenda, the programming, and it's exhausting. You can't unsee it. You can't turn it off. You can't go back to blissful ignorance. This is the cost they don't mention. The loneliness of clarity, the isolation of truth, because most people are still asleep, still plugged in, still defending the system that's destroying them. And you're awake in a world that punishes awareness, but you chose it anyway, because slavery disguised as comfort is still slavery. They're scrambling right now because you're not following the script. You were supposed to comply, consume, and eventually collapse. You were supposed to burn out, give up, fade away. That's the trajectory they designed, the path they paved, the future they predicted. But you deviated. You healed when you were supposed to break. You questioned when you were supposed to obey. You thrived when you were supposed to survive. And now their algorithms don't know what to do with you. Their predictions are failing. Their models are broken because you're the anomaly, the outlier, the data point that doesn't fit. And one anomaly, that's an error. But thousands, that's a pattern. And patterns they can't control terrify them. Let me tell you what you really exposed. Not a conspiracy, not a secret society, not some hidden cabal. You exposed something far simpler and far more dangerous. You exposed that the emperor has no clothes, that the system only works if we believe in it, that authority is a collective hallucination we're all agreeing to see. You stopped agreeing. You withdrew your consent, your belief, your participation, and in doing so, you revealed that the whole thing is optional, that we give them power, they don't take it, that we build their empires with our compliance, our labor, our attention. And the moment enough people realize that, the moment enough minds withdraw their consent, the entire structure collapses. Not through violence, not through protest, but through mass awakening and quiet refusal. They spent billions building prisons that don't look like prisons. They gave you a phone and called it freedom. They gave you options and called it choice. They gave you debt and called it opportunity. They gave you distraction and called it entertainment. They gave you pills and called it health care. They built a cage so comfortable you'd forget you were trapped. So entertaining you'd forget to escape. So familiar you'd defend it from anyone trying to free you. But you saw the bars, didn't you? You felt the walls closing in. You recognized the cage even when everyone else called it home. And you walked out, not because you were rebellious, but because you remembered what freedom felt like. Here's the part they're really panicking about. You're teaching others just by existing. You didn't write a book. You didn't start a movement. You didn't build a platform. You just lived differently, and people noticed. They saw your peace and got curious. They saw your boundaries and got inspired. They saw your refusal to participate in the chaos and started questioning their own participation. You became a walking example that another way is possible. And examples are contagious. They can ban information, they can censor voices, they can control narratives, but they can't ban a life well lived. They can't censor freedom embodied. They can't control the inspiration that spreads when one person remembers who they are. You know what's beautiful? They thought controlling information would control you. They thought if they owned the media, the schools, the platforms, they'd own your mind. And for a while, it worked. But then you did something they didn't account for. You started trusting yourself more than you trusted them. You started listening to your body more than their experts. You started following your intuition more than their instructions. You became your own authority. And that's the crack in their foundation, because their entire system is built on you doubting yourself, on you believing you need them to interpret reality for you. The moment you trusted your own perception, the moment you validated your own experience, you became untouchable. Let me tell you what happens next. They'll try to normalize it, try to co-opt it, try to sell it back to you. They'll create awakening products, freedom, subscriptions, sovereignty, courses. They'll take the language of liberation and turn it into marketing. They'll hire influencers to perform consciousness while selling you the same chains with different branding. They'll try to make waking up another trend you can consume, another identity you can buy, another aesthetic you can perform. But you'll see through it, won't you? Because you know the difference between real freedom and performed freedom. You know the difference between actual peace and packaged peace. You can't be sold what you've already become. Here's the truth they're desperately hiding. You don't need fixing. You need unfixing. You don't need more information. You need to unlearn the lies. You don't need to be built up. You need to be stripped down to what's real. Every program, every system, every structure they created was designed to layer you with conditioning, with beliefs that aren't yours, with desires that were planted. Funny, isn't it? How they all walk around pretending, acting, putting on their best faces, like dolls in a twisted little game. But you're different, aren't you? You don't wear a mask because you're weak. No, no, no. You wear it because you're dangerous. They look at you and see what you let them see. A smile, a nod, maybe even a little laugh to keep them comfortable. But behind that, behind that is something they don't understand. And what people don't understand, they fear. That's the beauty of it. The moment they think they've figured you out, snap, you change, you twist, you become something else entirely. Unpredictability is power. They spend their whole lives trying to fit into little boxes. Good, bad, strong, weak. Ha! But you refuse to be labeled. You are chaos wrapped in silence, a storm hidden beneath calm waters. They call it deception, I call it strategy. Because the second they can't read you, they can't plan against you. They don't know whether to shake your hand or run. And that is your greatest weapon. The world loves its labels, doesn't it? Weak, strong, good, evil. They slap names on people like price tags at a bargain sale, thinking they've figured it all out. Huh. But what they don't realize is that the real power lies with the ones they can't label, the ones who don't fit, the ones who slip through the cracks like smoke in a burning room. They need to believe they have it all under control, that their little rules and definitions make the world a safe, predictable place. It helps them sleep at night, thinking they can look at you and know who you are. But you're not here to make them comfortable. You're here to remind them that the scariest thing in the world is the unknown. So you play along, you nod, you smile, you let them think you're just another predictable little piece on their chessboard. But deep down, you know the truth. You're not a pawn. You're the shadow moving across the board, the hand that knocks the whole damn game to the floor when they least expect it. They think they're smart, analyzing you like some kind of puzzle, breaking you down into little categories, trying to pin you to a wall like a butterfly in a glass case. Let them try, because while they're busy studying you, you're already 10 steps ahead. Watching, waiting. Underestimation is a beautiful thing. It's a loaded gun in your pocket, a silent blade pressed against their throats, and they don't even realize it. They think they see the whole picture, but they're blind. Because when the time comes, and you finally show them who you really are, it'll be too late. So go ahead, play the fool, play the weakling, play whatever role they need you to play. Let them think you're harmless. Let them lower their guard. And when the moment is right, rewrite the whole damn story. They look at you and think they know your story. How cute. They see the calm, the silence, the way you carry yourself like nothing in this world could ever touch you, and they assume, they assume so much. They think you had it easy. They think you were just born this way. But what they don't see, what they'll never see, is the war that made you. You've survived things that would break them in half. You've walked through fires that would have burned them to ashes, and yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still smiling that wicked little smile, because the pain didn't destroy you, it built you. Every scar, every wound, every night spent drowning in your own darkness, those weren't signs of weakness. They were the forge, the fire, the hammer that shaped you into something they could never be. But they don't get it. Oh no, they laugh. They laugh at your silence, mock your stillness, mistake your restraint for weakness, until they push too far. Until they catch a glimpse of what's really underneath that carefully crafted mask, and by then it's already too late. Because once they've seen the monster you've kept caged, there's no putting it back. See the difference between you and them? They fear pain. They run from it. They beg for comfort, for safety, for some pathetic little illusion of control. But you welcomed the pain. You let it sink its teeth into you, let it rip you apart, and instead of crawling away, you laughed. Because you knew pain is a teacher, a sculptor, and only those who embrace it come out the other side unbreakable. They fear you now, don't they? They don't know why, but they feel it. The weight in your stare, the quiet in your presence, the way you don't flinch where others would. They don't realize that when you've already been through hell, nothing else in this world can truly scare you. And that makes you dangerous. Because what can you do to a man who has nothing left to lose? What threat holds weight to someone who has already faced the worst life had to offer and won? They'll never understand you, never, and that's fine. Because while they cling to their fragile little worlds, you walk through the ruins of your past, grinning, knowing one simple truth. Pain didn't break you, it crowned you. They like to think they've got you figured out, like you're just another predictable little soul, marching to the beat of their safe, simple world. Ha! How adorable. They watch the way you move, the way you speak, the way you pause before answering, and they try to put you in a box, try to slap a label on you. But here's the trick. They can't. Predictability is a leash. The moment they can read you, they own you. They know your next move, your weaknesses, your breaking points, and once they have that, you're just another pawn in their pathetic little game, another number, another fool playing by their rules. But when they can't read you, when your silence makes their skin crawl, that's when the fun begins. See, when they don't know if you're a friend or a threat, if you'll laugh or lash out, if you'll shake their hand or crush their world, that's when they start to fear you. Because uncertainty breeds terror, their minds race, their hearts pound. They start second-guessing every word, every glance, every smirk you give them, and suddenly, you own them. Watch how they react, how they lean in, desperate for some kind of confirmation that they're safe. But they'll never get it. Keep them in the dark, keep them wondering. It drives them mad. They'll start making mistakes, slipping up, showing you their fears, while you give them nothing. That's how the power shifts. That's how control is taken. You've seen it before. The way their voices shake when they speak to you, the nervous laughter, the quick glances at the door like they're calculating an escape route. They don't trust you. And good. That means you're doing it right, because trust is just another chain they want to wrap around your throat. They say people fear the unknown, so become the unknown. Never let them know if the smile on your face means amusement or a warning. Never let them be sure if you're playing or plotting. The second they relax, remind them why they shouldn't, because the moment they feel safe is the moment you have them exactly where you want them. Keep them guessing, keep them uncomfortable, keep them on edge, because when they can't predict you, they can't stop you. They want you to talk, they need you to talk, to explain yourself, to spill your thoughts, to give them something, anything to work with, because words make them feel safe. Words let them dissect you, analyze you, put you in a neat little category where they can pretend to understand you. But when you say nothing, when you just stare, that's when the panic sets in. Silence is a weapon, a sharp, gleaming blade that cuts deeper than any insult, any outburst, any explosion of rage. People don't fear noise. Noise is predictable, it's messy, it's human. But silence is calculated. Silence forces them to think, to second guess, to unravel in their own paranoia until they're drowning in their own damn thoughts. They'll start questioning everything. What are you hiding? What are you thinking? Are you planning something? Are you dangerous? They'll replay every conversation, every glance, every pause, looking for a clue, grasping at straws while you stand there, perfectly still. And that's power. Watch how they squirm. Watch how their confidence cracks. A man who speaks too much is a man easily figured out. But a man who gives nothing, he's a ghost, a storm waiting to break. And that uncertainty will eat them alive. You've seen it before. The nervous chuckle when they realize you're not reacting. The way they shift in their seats, glancing around, desperate for a way to fill the void. They'll volunteer information just to escape the tension. They'll start revealing their own fears, their own insecurities, just to break the silence, and all the while you're learning everything while they learn nothing. People think power is in speech, in loud voices and grand declarations, but real power is in restraint, in saying just enough or nothing at all. It forces them to come to you, to lean in, to work harder just to grasp a sliver of who you really are. Let them wonder, let them panic, let them run in circles inside their own minds, because the moment they realize they can't read you, the moment they fear what you might be thinking, that's the moment you've already won. They pity you, whisper behind your back, "He's always alone, must be miserable." Let them think that. Let them believe solitude is suffering. That's what they fear. The silence, the stillness, the void where their distractions die. But you've made the silence your kingdom. They think loneliness is a curse. You know better. It's a forge. Fire and pressure, pain and discipline, it strips away weakness, burns off illusion, leaves only the steel of who you truly are. You walk alone, not because you have to, but because no one else is strong enough to walk with you. When you're alone, you hear things, the whispers in your mind, the instincts sharpening, the truths they drown out with noise. Most people run from those voices. They blast music, chase company, numb themselves with useless distractions just to escape. But you listen. You let those thoughts sculpt you into something dangerous. Solitude makes men dangerous. It's in the quiet that warriors sharpen their blades. It's in the dark that kings decide their next move. The lone wolf isn't lost. He isn't wandering. He's hunting, watching, calculating, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Look at the greats, the ones who changed the world. Do you think they wasted time begging for company? No. They embraced the isolation. They let the silence shape them. While the rest of the world clung to the herd, they walked their own path and made the world follow them. People fear being alone because it forces them to face themselves, to sit in the silence and see who they really are. And most can't handle that. But you thrive in it. You've stared into that abyss, smiled, and stepped forward anyway. You don't need them. You never did. That's what scares them the most. They call you cold because you don't beg for validation. They call you heartless because their absence doesn't break you. But deep down, they envy you. Because while they cling to others for strength, so let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them laugh at the lone wolf, because they have no idea how dangerous it is when he finally decides to move. They point at your scars like there's something to be ashamed of, like your past is a stain you should scrub away. Fools. They don't understand. Those scars, that pain, that's your armor. Every wound, every betrayal, every moment of suffering didn't break you, it built you. They want to shame you for your demons, pretend like the past should be buried, forgotten, erased. But what they don't realize is your demons don't haunt you, they serve you. You don't run from them, you own them, and that makes you untouchable. Weak men fear the dark. They hide from it, pretend it isn't there, convince themselves that light is all that matters. But you live in the dark. You breathe it, and because of that, you see things they never will. You see them for what they truly are. Weak, blind, predictable. The world belongs to those who embrace their shadows, not those who fear them. It's the ones who've suffered who understand how the game is really played. It's the ones who've been through hell who know how to survive. The ones who've lost everything, they have nothing left to fear. They whisper that you've changed, that you're not the same person anymore. Damn right. The old you, he died in the fire, and from the ashes, something stronger emerged. You're not a victim of your past, you're the product of it. And now you use it. You see, pain gives you vision. You can read a room before a single word is spoken. You can feel when someone is lying before they even know they're lying. You can smell fear, because you've lived in it, because you became what you once feared. And now they fear you. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't break, who doesn't flinch, who looks into the abyss and smirks. They want you to be ashamed of your darkness because it makes them uncomfortable, but that's their problem, not yours. So let them talk, let them judge, let them run from their own shadows while you own yours. Because at the end of the day, it's the man who walks through the dark without fear who controls the ones still trapped in it. They laughed at you, called you weak, dismissed you like you were nothing. Every time you kept quiet, every time you stepped back, they mistook it for fear. They thought they had you figured out, just another pawn on the board, just another nameless, faceless nobody. But that was their mistake. They never saw the fire behind your silence. They never noticed how you were watching, learning, waiting. They were too busy mocking to see the monster sharpening its claws. Too blind to notice the storm building right in front of them. And then, one day, it happened. The shift. The moment they realized you weren't the same person they used to belittle. The moment they felt something different in the way you looked at them. A weight in your presence. A stillness that sent chills down their spine. By the time they finally saw it, the strength, the power, the unshakable force you'd become, it was too late. The game had already changed. The board was already flipped, and they were left behind, choking on their own underestimation. Now they stare, eyes wide, filled with something they never expected to feel toward you, fear. They remember every word they said, every joke they cracked, every time they pushed you down, thinking you'd never rise. And now, standing before them is the proof of just how wrong they were. They want to reach out now, want to apologize, want to understand. But you're too far gone, too high up. They can't touch you anymore. They lost that chance the moment they doubted you, and now they live with the regret of not seeing your worth when they had the chance. And you don't even need revenge. Their own regret is the punishment. Their own guilt will haunt them longer than any words ever could, because deep down they know they could have stood beside you. But instead, they laughed. Now they're nothing but ghosts in your past, fading echoes of a world that no longer deserves you. And as you walk away, untouchable, unstoppable, one thought lingers in their minds. We should have never underestimated. They wanted to put a label on you, a neat little box to trap you inside, hero or villain. winner or loser, saint or monster. They needed you to be something they could understand, something they could control. But you are chaos. You are the storm that doesn't announce itself, the wildfire that refuses to burn out. You don't fit their expectations. You shatter them. You take their fragile little world and laugh as you tear through it. They thought they had you figured out, thought they knew what you'd do next, thought you played by the same rules they do, but they never realized. You don't play by the rules. You rewrite them. You bend reality to your will. That's what terrifies them the most. Not your strength, not your intelligence, not even your rage. What keeps them up at night is that they never really knew you at all. You were always 10 steps ahead, wearing masks they couldn't see through. They assumed you'd stay the same, that you'd be predictable, that you'd stay in place while they moved forward. But now they watch in disbelief as you ascend, as you rise past every limitation they placed on you, as you become something beyond their reach. You weren't made for their approval. You weren't built to be understood. You are not the product of their expectations. You are the result of your own design. Let them try to define you. Let them waste their breath debating what you are. A monster, a king, a ghost. It doesn't matter. Their words hold no weight in your world. They are spectators to a game they'll never understand. Because you are the exception to every rule, the anomaly in their system, the force that cannot be predicted, controlled, or explained. You are not what they expected. You never were. And that is your greatest power.